Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining our leadership team meeting this morning, where we're going to talk about employee engagement survey results. Great to see everybody's face. I miss seeing you all in person, but great to have you here via Zoom. I'd like to welcome a guest with us today. We have Kathy Pantano joining us, one of our board members. Kathy has always been really interested in employee engagement survey results, customer service, and satisfaction survey results. She sits on a few other boards where she's part of their compensation committee as well as audit committee. So she's joining us today to learn more about how we ran our survey, how we're tackling the data, and what we're doing. So welcome, Kathy, and thanks for coming. We all like to start off every meeting talking about our tagline, and just a quick reminder for everybody here at West Coast Bean Roasters. We roast the most delicious organic coffee available. We find the sweet spot and bring it to you. We really do make this effort in everything that we do, and we all love our coffee and our baked goods, and we like to share that with the world. So as a quick reminder, we also like to talk about our mission statement at every meeting, and I'm not going to read this off because we all pretty much know it by heart, but just a really great reminder at every meeting that we really love what we do. We want our customers to love what we do. We want that to shine through to them with a really high quality experience, from customer service to the coffee and baked goods that they purchase from us. And really all that we do, we want that to shine through. And we really believe that drives return business and our revenues, and we are really deeply steeped in this mission statement. All of us, we live by it, and we are constantly tying back to it in everything that we do. A quick reminder, you all are aware of our locations and what our employees do and who they are. A lot of you know many of our employees by name, and they've been with us for years, but we felt it was appropriate just to kind of kick off this meeting with a reminder because it ties directly to what we're talking about today, and that's our employees. So who are our employees? We have our bean roasters, we have our bakers, we have our storefront associates, we have our online sales team, and all of those folks rotate jobs. You know that we really want to give people an opportunity to grow and develop with the company. So we really, an employee isn't just a storefront associate for the entire time they work for us. They rotate through and learn and do many different jobs. We have 110 locations along the Southern California coast. Our management philosophy that drives everything we do in terms of training and employee engagement. We love what we do. We want our employees to love it too. Each of us here in this Zoom room loves our jobs as individuals. We're dedicated to West Coast Bean Roasters and all that we do. And we want our employees to feel that way too. We want them to really enjoy coming into our shops and being excited about working with our products and our customers and, our locations. How do we drive that philosophy? You all know we do rotation of roles. We try to make the work interesting. We want our employees to be engaged. We want them to grow, learn. We want opportunities for advancement and development. We want our employees to enjoy their jobs. We want them to enjoy coming into work and being on the team. We want them to enjoy that team that they're a part of daily in their, coffee shops. And we want them to really enjoy working with the customers. So people that are really satisfied coming in, serving, and being a part of the community. And we have this very much community vibe. We started in North San Diego County with a few small locations and then expanded, but we've been able to keep that beach community vibe in everything that we do. A lot of our employees live in the community where they work. They surf with their customers. They walk and hike and see their customers out regularly. So that's the kind of vibe we want to continue to engender with our locations. We believe that employee satisfaction and engagement really ensures satisfied returning customers. It helps drive our sales. We have made a really significant investment, time, energy, monetarily, into training our employees and focusing on this management philosophy. So we want to retain those employees and retain that investment and receive a return on that investment through those returning and satisfied customers. Just a quick reminder about our 110 locations and where they are. You all know where they are. We've expanded into those inland areas. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So we're going to talk today about why engagement matters, customer satisfaction survey and key data, employee engagement and key data there, the relationship between the two, and key recommendations and next steps. That's really what we're going to focus on today. And this is a shorter presentation. We'll come back with more data and information later. So, why does engagement matter? We believe that engagement directly affects our customer satisfaction. We believe employee engagement helps drive our sales, and research that we've done really correlates these two data points, customer satisfaction and employee engagement. So we did a lot of work behind the scenes digging into outside resources, research centers, talking to our colleagues, and we believe there is a strong correlation there. A couple of key points we pulled out and shared with you today on this slide. You can read it in depth later, but a Forbes article talking about employee engagement generating higher sales and profitability and retention. And then a Gallup article really talking about how engagement in the top quartile outperformed bottom quartile units by customer ratings, profitability, productivity, and they also, those top quartile locations with employee engagement, a high level of employee engagement, saw a lower level of turnover, lower level of shrinkage, absenteeism, safety issues, and quality defects. So this research we did behind the scenes tied to the outcomes we'll show you here in a few slides. So let's kick off by talking about customer satisfaction. The sales team did this survey. They started seeing some slippage at some of the locations. They ran this survey asking customers to provide feedback to us, honest feedback. We offered them a free cup of coffee if they participated in the survey. So we had a lot of participation, and we were really happy with the level of participation, and we were happy with the survey results. Really, we'll dig into that. You all have seen what the questions were, and you've seen the rating scale, so I'm not going to dig into that. You're aware of what that looked like. So what did that look like? We collaborated with our sales team here to dig into this. Overall, great news. We had really high scores at a really high number of our locations. 26% scoring 90% or higher, strongly agree. 36% locations scoring 80 to 89% agreeing, so big smiley face for those locations. Kind of the okay straight face news, 22% locations scoring 70 to 79, so just neutral. And then, kind of the sad face news, 12% of our locations scoring 60 to 69%, customers disagreeing with those questions we asked. 4% scoring below 59%, so strongly disagreeing. So the good news is that it's a small number of our locations in those two buckets. And the good news is a high number scoring in those higher scoring areas. So really, next steps, we want to deep dive by location and survey questions. We want to collaborate with the sales team to do this and unpack the data. We want to compare sales by these locations, each location to the survey data for the location, and implement some immediate steps for the lower scoring locations with some action plans. So we want to talk today about this employee engagement survey. Based upon that customer satisfaction survey, we felt it was appropriate to conduct an additional employee engagement survey. We did one in 2018. We want to understand employee engagement at this point, and we want to understand how it compares to customer satisfaction. And this is really an opportunity for us to improve, to grow as a company, to further pursue our mission on a deeper level. And so we conducted that employee engagement survey in June of 2020. And as we noted, we did one a couple years ago and implemented some programs. So you're all very familiar with the questions we asked and what the rating scale was. We've been talking about that. Everybody on this call contributed to those survey questions, tweaks, balances, input around them. And so just as a reminder, the top questions 1 through 5 measure engagement. The final questions 6 through Questions 6 through 12 measure aspects that influence engagement, and you've all seen the rating scale before. So let's take a look. How are we doing with these key data points? So the top 4 questions with the highest scores, right? So these are our smiley face scores. This is where we are really happy with the outcomes and the scores. We're doing really well in these areas. Employees scored us as a 3.5 or higher in terms of their engagement on all of these questions. So that's above neutral, nearing agree, and it's spanning agree to strongly agree. So really very good scores here. I'm fairly rewarded for the work that I do. My manager gives me a variety of interesting work. I feel a sense of pride with what I achieve at work, and my coworkers make me feel welcomed at work. So spanning direct engagement questions as well as questions where engagement is impacted. We have good news to report on these. We can conclude here that the improved compensation packages that we rolled out in early 29 have been successful, and we can conclude that some of the trainings that we did with our managers and team building events had a really positive impact on these questions and employee engagement in these areas. So we're really happy to report back with this data. Questions really scoring in the middle. So this would be a score of 3 to 3.5. So just a neutral score or slightly above neutral. So not bad, right? We'd like to see this a little bit better. But the questions 8, 3, 5, 2, I know what is expected of me at work. I feel like my work makes a difference. I could see myself at this organization for the foreseeable future. I feel invested in the success of the company. These all scored neutral or slightly above neutral, right? So employees at over half of our 110 locations didn't agree with these statements or give us a score of 4. Their responses were just neutral or slightly above neutral. We'd like to see these numbers closer to a score of 4, agree. That would help us to ensure retention. It would impact customer satisfaction in a positive way, which drives our sales, it drives our success. So we can conclude here we need additional training programs, additional communication in these areas, and likely some additional team building events. So this is helpful data to us and very good opportunity for us to grow. And kind of the lowest scoring areas, the questions that were difficult to digest, the responses for. So we scored below a 3. So these are employees that scored us as disagree or strongly disagree, right? So this was, an eye-opener. I am proud and excited to talk about my job. I could see myself in this organization in the foreseeable future. I feel respected by my manager. Ouch, that's a tough one. I feel like my work makes a difference, and I feel invested in the success of the company. So all of these scored below a 3. Now, the good news is that it's a minority of our locations. It's a small number that have these low scores, but it is something we need to focus on and review. So what did we do with this? We had the customer satisfaction survey results. We had the employee engagement survey results. So we put together those correlation calculations to see how did the two correlate. You all know we talk about this frequently in our sales meetings and how we correlate sales to a variety of different factors in terms of our business. And so -1, scaling to 1, scaling to positive +1. That range shows a negative to positive correlation. The closer we are to a +1, the higher the positive correlation between the two data points is. So you can see everything in our scatter plot is up in that upper right-hand quadrant, which shows a positive correlation. So our conclusions about positive employee engagement and positive customer satisfaction is corroborated by the research that we did, as well as this scatter plot and the correlation calculation. So again, another data point to help drive home this tie between engagement and customer satisfaction. So what do we need to do? We need to take this data, and we have some areas for improvement. So kind of immediate, midterm, and long-term is how we broke this up. We need to do a lot more work digging into this data, but kind of immediately our CEO, Ying Buchler, can report back to our locations. We feel it's really important to report back to our employees, share the data, share the results in a transparent, open way, and make sure they know we really care about this. We care about them. This is important to us. We want to improve employee engagement. We want to improve customer satisfaction. And so we want to definitely report back and be transparent. We want to report back multiple times, not just the one time. We want to report back about action plans. We want to tie actions that we take in terms of training back to this survey and communicate why we're doing these things in a direct relationship to these survey results, to keep people engaged in what we did and the actions we're taking. We definitely want to celebrate the success with those high customer satisfaction survey scores. We want to go back out to those locations. We want to talk to the managers, get some input, and sort out how we can reward employees for that great customer satisfaction. So we're going to report back with some key recommendations in about a week and implement that in late August, early September. Those are great things we want to celebrate. We'd like to come back in Q4 with an offsite leadership team meeting. I think we could facilitate that in a park. Our group is not huge, so I think we could do that and work together to dive. We'll bring back deep dive data, key points we want to share with you, and we would like to work with you to develop action plans and recommendations around some of those things. So we'd like to do that as a team. The 16 locations where we had really low customer satisfaction scores, the sales team is going to drive a deep dive into those results and work with HR to figure out what we need to do. Some of those key questions, with the low scores, how does that tie back to the sites, and what type of training do we need to do there? We want to evaluate some of our training programs that currently exist from a manager, leadership, employee resource question, and we'd like to develop an HR task force, gather more information from our employees with the low scoring questions, and do that via some Zoom focus groups, get some direct feedback on what we can do to improve those programs, because it doesn't make sense really for us to try to do that in a bubble, so to speak. So we'd like to get some employee input on what would make a difference and roll those out late Q4, early Q1 of next year. We want to evaluate team building opportunities based upon the engagement survey data and see what we need to do there. Probably tie that into some of those focus groups as well. We believe it's important for our CEO to message back to locations in Q1 about, continuing to take steps with this survey. And we think it's important to repeat both surveys next year, kind of mid to late year, and see how we're doing, keep comparing year over year. We feel it's important to deep dive into the customer survey satisfaction results by question, by location. We talked a little bit about that, but we'd like to compare that and use our financial results to compare both the engagement survey and the customer satisfaction survey. We feel it's important to really use all three data points and unpack that. So really deep dive there and come back with additional recommendations. Few things we want to note, some important pieces here. So really high scores on employee engagement at 3 locations, 51, 30, and 3, overall scoring 4.08, agree and higher to strongly agree. So really great. We want to unpack what we're doing at those locations. Those are our flagship locations, so it's not surprising. There's a lot of enthusiasm to work in those stores. Really low scores. This was interesting. These happen to be some of our newer locations in the inland areas outside of our coastal zone, scoring below a 3, below neutral. These were employees that were disagreed or strongly disagreed. So we want to figure out what's going on there and take action. And in terms of the customer satisfaction, 29 locations with that 90% satisfaction, fantastic, and 4 locations with below 50% satisfaction. We can see location 53 is really low on employee engagement, really low on customer satisfaction. So we need to unpack some of these. Again, some of these locations are inland locations. So we feel like there's some disconnect between our coastal locations and the inland locations. We need to unpack that and figure out what's going on there. So any questions today? Yes, John has a question. How did we do the data analysis? So we used a funnel approach, right? We started high level. If anybody's interested in seeing the spreadsheets, we used come on over to HR, reach out to us, we'll share it. We used a red, yellow, green methodology of scoring what looked good, the data in a green zone, all the way down to what looked poor in the red zone. We did that with both surveys, and we looked at how we correlate the two together. We ran averages. So we ran a lot of different data cuts. We did a deep dive on a lot of these, but it just led us to conclude there's a lot more deep dive analysis we can do. Kathy, yes, our guest today. Do you think there are other factors affecting customer satisfaction? That's a great question. We definitely think there are other factors. Ranging from some of our poor bean shipments we've received in to, just recently during COVID, we know we haven't been able to source a lot of our organic products because of shortages. So there's definitely other factors affecting, employee engagement and customer satisfaction, but we feel we can't deep dive into that right now. We need to focus on the data at hand. Okay, great question though. Yeah, and I'd just like to note that all of our locations have been able to stay open with, storefront sales. So customers can't come in, but they're doing sales at the door and delivering out of our side windows. So it's working out really nicely, and customers can still use our great outdoor patio areas. One more question. Chen has a great question. How long will it take to improve? Wow, that's a great question. We don't know, actually. We don't know the answer to that. But what we do know is that we can measure year over year and tweak and modify as we go using data as opposed to not using data. And the HR foundational programs and practices that we put in place to support our employees and to support our mission, we can tweak those too and tie those more directly to engagement and customer service to make sure the work we're doing on the backside of HR is really affecting employee engagement, customer satisfaction, and overall our sales. Any other questions? Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon with more data. Bye-bye.